Hi, folks. Welcome to the iWrite Radio podcast, Wednesday's edition, and videocast, I should add. Today, we're going to really busy day. We've got Scottish questions, Prime Minister's questions, First Minister's questions, and there's also business questions. So we're only going to go with Prime Minister's questions today. And there's a wee bit of news about UKIP in Scotland, but we'll let Stuart kick off. He's got some interesting statistics on Mr. Johnson's answers at Prime Minister's questions. Stuart.
Yes, hello there, everybody. I think we were dubious whether Boris would show up today, but he did at the very last minute. Last week we were discussing how long would it take him to use the word fantastic last week. Well, today he broke all records. He answered no questions with any sense. What he did say, he said they were making vast progress. He had great confidence in something that he's doing, couldn't tell you what it was, that we could defeat this disease. Well, he can't, it's impossible to defeat it. He's got growing confidence that the testing will improve. We've got a world-beating system. Something is massively working. Nothing in modern memory, there's been nothing quite like it, the testing they're doing. 50,000 more nurses are going to be employed. And he finally got to fantastic NHS. And then he said, immensely proud. I think we could leave the list at that. It could go on and on and on. The man is a clown.
Well, I'm going to presume he never watches Question Time back because he's ploughing the same furrow. He's not trying to improve himself. So he's not been hiding in a fridge at RADA, learning new presentational skills. It was the same.
No, that only lasted till question 2. I got the impression that people had instructed him to try and rile Keir Starmer and get under his skin and annoy him because he did mention Keir Starmer's forensic skills a couple of times. But the reality was, as Stuart said, he answered no questions. He's got nothing to give. When Keir Starmer, and some of these questions were vitally important, and he was asking for genuine information there and getting nothing coming back, getting absolutely no. So it's kind of a waste of time Boris being there. He basically stood there and tried to out-Trump Trump. He tried to be a bigger arse than Donald is, which is fair play. It's a big ass, but I think he very nearly done that today.
I was not impressed at all.
Well, look, you know that the other day they announced that 2 more symptoms that have got to be taken into account to decide whether you should be tested for COVID. But there was some conjecture yesterday whether invisibility might be one of the symptoms that Boris might be suffering from as a result of having the virus.
One of the things I do find interesting is they're going to plough, the Tories are going to plough their ideological furrow forever. They're not going to back down on the £400, now £625 for NHS frontline workers having to pay if they're not British. They're not going to give them any leeway on immigration. And, you know, if we don't get an injection for this, an inoculation against the virus, we're going to need these guys coming from Europe and Africa and India for our frontline NHS.
I'd love to ken where he thinks he's going to get his 50,000 new nurses for when he's going to be charging them £625 to use the health service that they're working for. He's talking bollocks with that one, eh?
He's going to recruit them from all the fruit pickers.
Aye, right enough.
Our future king is asking for at the moment.
Yeah, he needs them now.
Do you think Charlie was just looking for fruit pickers for his own estate, or he's wanting his pals' estates to get picked and all?
Oh, I would think. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if the Tories introduced a must go and pick fruit in the fields. If you want.
It could be a new land army. Yeah, it could be like World War II. You could be sent to the fields.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if you saw prisoners in the fields, if you saw people that get universal credit in the fields.
You can't compel prisoners to work in this country, can you? I don't think you can.
Why
I
do
think
why do they want rid of the what do you call it? The Equalities Act. It's not the Equalities Act. It's the
Human Rights
Act.
Mate, we didn't care what's happening in prisons. There's every chance that they're as bad as care homes. They're just not telling us.
That's true. That's true.
They've been very quiet about that, although I noticed that the Scottish Government did announce, I think this morning, they gave a figure of 125 people who'd actually been released early. So it wasn't the flood that Jackson Carlo was babbling on about a few weeks back when he was talking about as if they were going to release murderers or rapists into our community just to save them catching a cold. I mean, no, it's not that Jackson would over-exaggerate anything, eh?
Well, if they run out of the Nike dead cat, that'll become a tsunami of prisoners.
By the way, I was seriously unimpressed by Ian Blackford today. I mean, you'll forgive me, but the man's a millionaire, sitting in a big fat pad on Sky, and he can't be bothered to write questions other than the two that he decided to write and then ask this morning after Keir Starmer had already asked them. He's now got a second batch of questions to ask. I thought he made an absolute pig's lug of that this morning, and I'm getting sick of him standing up. Well, sitting in Sky at the moment.
Okay.
But he's getting slapped down every week, and how to get slapped down by Boris, you've got to be piss poor. If he doesn't up his game, I think somebody should replace him.
Well, I've thought of that for a long time, but I think you're going a wee bit too far there, Jimmy. He did bring up an important issue that we've been talking about for a couple of days, which is where all the Tory MPs in Scotland voted to allow imports of rotten food into this country. What did he say? Instructed the vote. Oh, and also, sorry, I'm confusing that issue with the other issue about the one you were bringing up there, having to pay for the NHS foreign staff. He ordered his MPs to vote against reducing that fee for foreign workers in the NHS. I'm sorry for confusing you there, but I thought it was good that you brought that up. But you're right in a way, Jimmy. I mean, generally speaking, I think he's poor.
I do think one of the problems at the moment is with there being such a big Tory majority in Westminster is that the opposition parties need to look like a united front. They need to make the Tories look like outliers, even though they've got the majority. I mean, it's semantics because they can put through anything they want. But if all the parties stand up and say, look, we cannot support this because of what it's doing to NHS frontline staff, it gives the Tories a bit of a tarnish, which unfortunately they can totally ignore. But it's a psychological point rather than a point.
Not even, yeah, we wish they would. But what with the softly approach of Keir Starmer, he's not going to rock the boat on Brexit. He's not going to rock the boat on the current crisis. He said as much in both key issues. And then we watched Scottish questions, at which point, we watched Ian Murray line up beside Alistair Jack and savage the Scottish government. I think
Ian Murray has done nothing for the last 3 weeks about his job. As an MP at Westminster, he has attacked nobody at Westminster. Mm-hmm. It's all been against the Scottish government.
I noticed he went and sat his fat ass on the SNP benches at Prime Minister's questions today.
Aye.
Just to get himself seen on the telly.
I went for a trawl to see what he'd said about the British government as an MP. That's his job, to scrutinise the British government. He has done nothing.
No, he doesn't, mate. He's come on, mate. He's very much a Brit. He's not going to attack the British government because by doing that, he has to attack his place of work, the British Parliament.
Well, his deputy. His deputy is a man called Elmore, who's a rabid Welsh unionist Labour MP. who, when every time he gets up to speak, he attacks the Scottish, he basically attacks devolution, even though the Labour Party are in power in Wales. God, you can't make it up, can you?
Oh, they're just a shout of clowns, mate.
I have to agree, going back to Ian Blackford, I'm not impressed with Ian Blackford doing his remote thing. He's not fantastic when he's in the house, but he's definitely worse when he's sitting at home.
Jesus, didn't even have the sense to switch a light on the day. It looked like he was sitting in a dark cupboard.
He needs a little bit of coaching, I think.
He needs a little bit of replacing, in my opinion.
Well, I hope there's better down there.
He's had a good kick. He's had a rare kick at the ball, mate, and frankly, he's got less impressive the longer he's been in the job.
Well, the issue comes up. We discussed it the other day. Should he have made the trip to Westminster to make an impact? They tried to attack. That was a line of attack by a couple of SNP MPs at Prime Minister's question, wasn't it? About people like Alistair Jack making the journey down, Douglas Ross making the journey down, breaking the Scottish Government's rules about not being key workers, not necessarily for them to go.
No, sorry, they are essential workers because they're ministers.
Yeah, but you did hear the attack, did you, by the SNP MPs?
Yeah.
No, I'd switched off by then. I'd wait on the questions.
They're entitled to be there.
Well, it means that there's a division in the SNP. If we want Ian Blackford to be there in person to make a decent attack,
nobody does. Nobody wants Ian Blackford.
I'm simply saying he's worse. Virtually.
He's just poor. To be honest, I'm quite glad that the British Parliament's now gone on holiday for a couple of weeks, so we didn't have to watch that. I mean, I didn't agree with Jacob Rees-Mogg that they should all be back there working, because what a wonderful example that would be for the country. What a wonderful example of people catching COVID-19 by working in conditions that are not and cannot possibly be socially distant.
Yeah, well, this is the point, I think, and none of the three of us have got a chance to watch the business questions, which is Jacob Rees-Mogg, and about we have yet to find out just exactly what will happen. Are they going to be forced to go? All the MPs going to be forced to go back after the Whitsun break? And if they are, will the SNP boycott it? Therefore, who knows what's going to happen?
It'll be interesting. I mean, wish it on nobody, but it will be interesting if they all go back and there's an outbreak.
Aye. Well, I did notice that the figures have trended up in Italy this week. So, not massively, but they're creeping back up again. So, I'm quite glad that we've still got another, week and a half or so, week and 2 days or whatever before decisions are made.
I don't think it's avoidable. I think it might not be a peak, but I think there's bound to be a bump. And I think everybody's factoring that in.
Well, I mean, yes, there's bound to be a bump, I think, because I say, last night I watched the Horizon programme, which was very informative, BBC Horizon. I know it's BBC, but some of these are almost independent departments when they put on some of the things like Panorama and Newsnight.
Is Horizon not a separate company now from the BBC?
No, well, they seem to be a bit more independent, certainly from the news. Anyway, what we did discover last night is that basically most of the politicians that we monitor on a daily basis, they're not up to speed. They're asking the wrong questions because they don't actually fully understand the current thinking and the current expected impact of this pandemic.
Mm.
I think that's why there's a good argument for the Sage Minutes to be published. And I also accept there is an argument for them not to be published.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. And I would say something else too. I think not only is Nicola Sturgeon proved to be the best performer in the UK by far through this pandemic, she appears to be the best informed, judging by the decisions she's made.
Well, that takes us quite neatly into FMQs. We'll have a quick delve. What I'm beginning to get really annoyed about is the willful ignorance being displayed by opposition party leaders. as if they have no access to the facts, no access to reality. I mean, we had the Nike conference brought up again, and it's been debunked so many ways. But because it was on the BBC, it's being believed, talking about BBC and Horizon and all the rest of it.
Well, can I point out things that Richard Leonard talked about defeating the virus? Well, you can't defeat this virus. There is not a 1% evidence of any kind that they're ever going to defeat this virus. Most of the evidence makes it more like the common cold. It's liable to be with us forever. So that's a stupid thing to say. The First Minister did defend herself about the Nike conference issue, which I'm sorry, listeners and viewers, if you're not up to speed on that, I don't think any one of us are going to explain it all to you. The First Minister said, look, it was a public health issue at the time of this conference, and it was a possibility of COVID virus involved, but that was after they'd all gone home, by the way, after the conference. It was reported back from abroad that somebody had caught COVID at this conference, and it was handled by the professionals as it normally is, like Legionnaire's disease, whatever. You don't get smallpox anymore, but whatever disease you've got, E. coli, it was handled by professional clinicians, and they made the decision, and they had the power at the time to go public if they wanted. They didn't have to pass it up to the politicians.
What everybody is willfully ignoring is that is a strand of these public health teams. They make the decision on whether going public will benefit their tracing.
Mm-hmm. And
they don't go public on every outbreak. They only go public on the outbreaks where they balance panic and all the rest of it against
some clown like Jackson Carlo. I mean, he's a second-hand car salesman that's become a politician.
A dodgy second-hand car salesman.
Well, a shite one, because he managed to fold 2 companies that he worked with. But for him to set himself above those people and to consider that he would have made a different decision, and to actually state that he would have made a different decision because he was stating that that decision was mistaken, it's just laughable. I mean, he's a laughable character anyway. I didn't think I got another one that's not up to the job, and it's clearly taken its toll on him because his skin pallor the day was the same colour as his bloody hair. But I thought
what was it? Did you not spot that? What was it he talked about?
Aye, he talked about. I'm assuming that he meant to say that this was kept secret from the public, but what he said was this was a public secret. There's no such thing as a public secret, Jackson, you fud. It's a secret or it's public. Make your mind up.
I know, and the First Minister all keeps saying, she says, look, if there was a cover-up, if it was a secret, what was my motive? Why would I cover it up?
Well, one, she didn't cover it up because it wasn't her decision to take, and 2, ascribe a motive to a public health official for doing what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, Carlo's a mug. He's clearly been promoted above his station because he's got friends with influence within the party. This
is the narrative now, and we've said it, been saying it all week.
Well, Norrie, it was interesting.
They have to find a way to bring her down, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not.
Well, we said last week that they had to make it stick, but it was interesting that she had a go at their language about secret and cover-up. The one that's really annoyed me, and it's not all the press, but some of the press have started using it, that this Nike case is the ground zero case. So they're basically saying that COVID in Scotland started at this Nike conference and that the First Minister covered it up. So all the deaths are down to the First Minister for covering it up. And that's abject pish. It's nonsense. It's risible. There's absolutely no science behind that whatsoever.
Well, what was interesting and new today was the First Minister, I think the first time publicly saying that they're looking into the strain of COVID-19 that was set free at the Nike conference.
Yeah.
And she was fairly confident it was not one that led to more infection.
So you take that and then you add on what's coming out now, and this First Minister mentioned this as well. it's called asymptomatic transmission. This is now what's coming out, that a lot of these politicians just haven't taken into account. If there were no symptoms of those people at this Nike conference, it totally changes the situation. And that is partly where most of this transmission of COVID is coming from. It's not people with a cough and a cold and a fever. People are transmitting this before they get any symptoms.
Well,
I don't follow that.
People are passing on.
It makes no difference, Stuart. Their argument is that as soon as they knew, they should have got in cars with loudhailers, strapped someone to the roof rack so they could go around all the streets in Scotland shouting, "COVID virus found at Nike conference."
I'm sorry, but you'd have had clowns burning their Nike trainers in bloody big bins outside supermarkets and that.
Doing a Donald.
I'm taking the Nikes off because I might get the virus.
Right, wouldn't be surprised, eh?
Right, let's jump away from that. We'll maybe have a more in-depth discussion about FMQs tomorrow. Stuart spotted something yesterday, I think it was. UKIP have decided to stand in Scotland.
Yes, they've decided to stand at next May's Holyrood elections, much to the consternation of the Tory party in Scotland. They are going to stand on a platform of abolishing Holyrood, of getting rid of devolution. And I can't see the Tories wanting that either, in spite of the fact they keep attacking it all non-stop at the moment. But can you imagine UKIP standing for Holyrood?
I can.
Since you told me this.
I think it'll be quite entertaining. I genuinely think it'll be quite laughable. They say that they intend to dissolve Holyrood. Well, I intend to dissolve the UKIP campaign by just going up and asking every UKIP candidate,
Jimmy,
why is it?
I'm going to have to ask you to be a bit more subtle about it than that. I think we should join and campaign for UKIP.
Nah,
every vote for UKIP splits the Unionist Scottish vote.
No, but the reality is, mate,
that's subtle.
Aye, but seriously, somebody said last night they could be a massive contributor because they got 10.5% in the last Scottish election. I'm like, no, they never. They never got to 10.5% in a European election in Scotland. Never mind a Scottish election.
8.5 at the European election, apparently.
Aye, but their whole campaign is basically predicated on, we absolutely do not agree with the result of the referendum in Scotland to have a parliament. But you've got to stand by the referendum of 2016. But ignore the one of 1997. That has to be put aside.
True.
I like Norrie's idea, though, joining UKIP. Though.
We shouldn't.
Can you imagine us three going into a UKIP meeting? I'd be scudding people within 5 minutes. You'd be trying to date them, and Norrie would be having a bevy up the back going, these clowns are fannies, and recording what we were up to.
I think we should tactically support them. I really do.
Did you? It'll be the same people that turned up at this protest on the weekend there to protest against the lockdown. The same idiots. There'll be Alex. What's his name? The guy, Mankey.
Mankey Jacob. Aye.
Mankey Jacob. Whatever his Archie, somebody or other. He was there.
Do we have to guess who will be the UKIP candidate?
No, not David Coburn again, or has he moved on?
I've got to presume it's going to be David Coburn. I've got a sneaky suspicion he joined the Tory party.
I think he tried. What about that donut that was the MSP for the Brexit party? Do you think he'll hook up with UKIP for this one? Was it Lewis Stedman Bryce or something weird like that?
Oh, yeah. Actually, he was actually quite good in front of camera. It was just what was coming out his mouth didn't make any sense.
Aye.
I didn't know they ever had an MSP.
No, he wasn't. He was an MEP, mate, for the Brexit party. Kind of these managed to sneak one in through the middle last time.
Was this after Coburn resigned from whatever party it was?
Yeah, I think so.
UKIP that he resigned from and joined the vote. Well, what's Farage's party called these days?
Still the Brexit party.
For the Brexit party. That's what happened. Okay.
But anyway, hopefully they'll get 5% of the Scottish Tory vote.
I'm not sure the Scottish Tory vote's going to make 5%, mate.
Even better.
I've been serious, mate. I noticed that Ruthie got up and asked a question towards the end of FMQs today, but it was some nonsense about fertility treatment.
That's right.
So
Something she's got a personal interest in that.
A slight vested interest. She was almost as effective as James Kelly, but we can save that till tomorrow to laugh at James Kelly.
Well, I've got news for her. And what was she doing yesterday when the First Minister or the Health Secretary told everybody they were restarting it?
I know. But I'll tell you what she was doing, mate. She was probably on the phone to Adam Bolton, teeing up her interview this morning, because she was on Sky News this morning making a raft of, shall we say, spurious allegations against the SNP. Fortunately, I didn't think many people in Scotland would have had much time to listen to that, because listening to Adam Bolton and Ruth Davidson talking.
Oh, it was Ruth Davidson. Okay. By the way, did you hear? Who was it? Was it Gordon Brown or Andrew Neil? No. Who interviewed Gordon Brown yesterday? Or was that Piers?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Andrew Neil, and Andrew Neil was on Good Morning Britain or something this morning.
I wasn't getting up at 10 to 8 in the morning to watch Andrew Neil, mate. I'm sorry, but he's bad enough watching him at night. I'm not getting up in the morning to watch him. And
Tony Blair's been wheeled out for an interview on Newsnight.
Well, I saw that. I thought he interviewed very well, actually.
He always interviews very well, but he still talks. It doesn't mean to say he's genuine.
Doesn't mean to say he's any less the son of the devil. The fact that he presents himself well. Come on, he's always been shiny.
I would have liked to see Boris sitting next to him. That would have been interesting.
It's not that, mate. He's got the cheek to talk about thousands of people dying. You ken me, I'll never defend Boris Johnson, but he's killed a hell of a lot less people than Tony Blair did.
That's true. That's true. Okay, guys, anything else that particularly caught your interest?
Yes, I think we could finish with a really silly story. You must have heard about the football match in Italy where they were playing behind closed doors. Oh no, it was South Korea. They were playing behind closed doors at this football match in South Korea. So the football club had ordered all these mannequins to fill the seats. So they had cut out pictures of the players sitting in some of the seats, and these mannequins in the other seats. And then they discovered that they weren't mannequins; they were blow-up sex dolls.
Superb.
Well, that solves your social distancing problem and gives you a crowd at a football match. All I'm seeing now is the Only Fools and Horses episode with the sex dolls in the back of the van. Remember them, the exploding sex dolls?
Yes.
I mean, that takes me back a bit. Well, and on that rather dubious note,
bizarre note,
I think we'll call it a day. Thanks, Jimmy Hutton.
Thanks, Stuart
Lockhead. I'm Norrie Stewart. Thanks for watching and listening, folks, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow, which is Thursday.
Thursday.
Cheers for now, folks.